Now, it's not surprising to me at all in the least about the reception that the Acolyte Season 1 is getting right now, sitting at around 16% on the audience scale, and shockingly still stuck at 84% on the critic scale. Then again, we already know that the critics are shills. We know that they are never honest about their overall opinion on things when it comes to television especially. I feel like the movie side on Rotten Tomatoes is a little bit more honest. That's just my perspective on things when it comes to Rotten Tomatoes and the bad rap that actual site usually gets on the critic side of things. But what's interesting about this moving ahead has a lot to do with Disney CEO Bob Iger and what he's been up to when he goes into damage control over the Acolyte Episode 3 and the entirety of the Acolyte backlash. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So, Bob Iger, this man always lies to the shareholders, to the customers. He will never admit what's going on between himself, the board of directors, or any kind of concern that's in the middle there that's being discussed. And we already know that there's been multiple emergency meetings that were placed over at the Walt Disney Company, specifically catered to divisions like Pixar, Lucasfilm, as well as Marvel Studios. And let's not forget about Walt Disney Animation Studios. I mean, those are the top 4 divisions right now that are going through a lot of problems. And you know what? Disney was asking for it. We all saw what they did with their deliberate agenda, and they show no sign of stopping here in 2024. But moving on here, Bob Iger, once again, lying to the fans, pointing the finger at the actual Star Wars fans that believe in George Lucas's work, and it doesn't surprise me at all. Let's get into this. Now, with the Acolyte Episode 3 already wreaking havoc at Lucasfilm after a world record backlash from fans that has never been seen before under Disney's ownership, one major development now has much to do with Disney CEO Bob Iger engaging in damage control after the Acolyte Episode 3 resulted in droves of fans leaving the Disney Plus platform, where Bob Iger delivered the following. As CEO, I believe it is my responsibility to remain transparent to our customers and shareholders on how we operate at the Walt Disney Company. I would like to address one of our favorite divisions, Lucasfilm, with our latest addition to the Star Wars brand. The Acolyte has delivered a positive experience to us from the majority of our core customer base. In the midst of our episodes releasing on the Disney Plus platform, our analysts have noticed a spike in criticism for our latest project, improperly labeling Disney as holding some form of an agenda, which is not the case at all. I ask everyone, whether you're investing with us or are supporting us as a customer, that the criticism that we have noticed is nothing more than a minority on our front, and holds no concern to us, both in the short and long-term effects at Lucasfilm. We take pride in our work at Lucasfilm and our support for the many communities that needed to be properly included in our many projects. Our support for diversity, equity, and inclusion should never be mistaken as an agenda, and any members of our customer base informing others that this is what the Walt Disney Company is about is not only irresponsible, it is also damaging to the understanding from the majority of our customers. Everyone should keep inflammatory opinions to themselves throughout the release of our latest installment and to witness the project actually, of course, released for itself, for Lucasfilm and Star Wars, and I will make this very clear again, we do not engage in any kind of a culture war, nor do we support any kind of an agenda or message to exclude others, or to devalue others in our projects, such as in this case, with the Acolyte, as many are led to believe. Kathy Kennedy has many projects on the horizon that are about to represent DEI properly, and we look forward to hiring new creators to take on certain roles to make those projects possible. Now guys, before I move on about what Bob Iger is really just trying to cover up here when it comes to the Acolyte, he is doing damage control. He surely does not believe a word that he's saying. We know what's been going on at the Walt Disney Company. The board is very much anxious about the current state of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy running the show, and especially what Leslie Headland, the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein, I know I always repeat this, but it needs to be said, what she has done to the Star Wars brand, what kind of damage she has brought to the Star Wars brand. I mean, it was already damaged, let's be very honest. But this is really like the final nail in the coffin, I feel. I really don't see it recovering, at least on Disney Plus, and even for the movies. You know, it's even leading to an effect where a lot of fans are beginning to abandon the, of course, originals and the prequels. Some people just don't care at all anymore. Now, I'm sure that's not the entirety of the fan base, but some people are just giving up on Star Wars entirely, flat out. Now, what's interesting about this is the fact that we have people like Bob Iger, again, lying to the actual audience, lying to the shareholders. This is basically a strategy by his way of really kind of stringing them along into the following year. He wants the shareholders and customers to stay for 2025. He wants to keep them intact to make sure that they are going to be able to support Disney and to buy their merchandise, to go to their theme parks, watch their TV programs, watch their movies, you name it. That's what it's all about. So, moving onwards, he goes on to conclude, our support for DEI will keep moving forward as a strategy to reach a wider, more global audience for our Disney Plus platform that we are very proud of in 2024. We may have hit some challenges along the way this year, but I have no concern about the streaming service in both the short and long term as well. Any criticism that our analysts have reported to us for the Acolyte we view as nothing more than a minority. We dealt with this same situation with our two last Star Wars films that concluded the Skywalker era, and we are dealing with the same type of situation now, so I hold no worries where we stand. So again, Bob Iger is lying as the CEO, as the man running everything over at Disney. But let's be clear, I mean, the true people that are running the show of Disney are the top three shareholders. It is BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. They are funding everything related to ESG and DEI, getting thrown into Marvel, Star Wars, the Disney live-action remakes, the animated stuff. The list goes on. So, when you look at things like the Acolyte, never forget the fact that Bob Iger has done something like this before with The Last Jedi, blaming the criticism on fan fatigue. Get that, or a marketing mishap. They will never admit failure, to the face of the fans. They will never do that. But they know what's going on. Even Daisy Ridley began to open up just recently in a couple of interviews. I don't know if you guys caught on to that. It was like maybe 2 to 3 days ago where she openly admitted that, yeah, both The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker were divisive on a massive scale. And they're able to be a little bit more honest now about those films when it comes to the actors because quite some time has passed. I mean, we haven't had a Star Wars film in years, alright? We're talking years. We're almost halfway through the decade of the 20s. Can you believe that? So what's interesting about this, again, like I say, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Bob Iger, because this man will, of course, do whatever he has to do to make sure that the Acolyte is going to stay on track, that the Acolyte is going to get as many positive reviews as possible. And look, I mean, I think the biggest signal that could be the most authentic one, if they keep blaming, like, fans are just review bombing, or the views are inauthentic, or any of that nonsense, then how about why are the merchandise sales for the Acolyte going down, and there's a lot of cancellations, and a lot of people just don't want to buy the figurines, or the upcoming lightsaber hilts, or anything like that? Is that not a big shocker? I mean, we had a similar situation with the Reva merchandise for the Kenobi series, and they still wouldn't admit failure with the Kenobi series. But overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.